All right, folks, we're going to continue breaking down some Weber State film from 2022. I broke down the game versus Utah State and was surprised at some of the things I saw. Since I did that breakdown, I've learned some things about situations that were going on at Weber State that explain some of the discrepancies between what we've been hearing about Jay Hill's defense coming out of fall camp, coming out of what he said versus what I saw in that game versus Utah State. The first thing that, if you watch those first series, I was surprised that Weber State ran a lot of 3 down fronts in that game, and a lot of 3-3-5 nickel looks, which was surprising to me because of what I heard coming out of fall camp was that BYU was going to run a 4-2-5 nickel look. Anyway, I expressed some of my observations from this film breakdown on Twitter and had an interaction with a sports writer who I think covers Weber State. He let me know that in 2021, Weber State had a number of pretty good defensive ends who all transferred. And so Weber State went into 2022 with not much experience, and so they ended up playing some linebackers in kind of a hybrid defensive end linebacker role. And now this is in the FCS playoff, and so we see them using a lot more guys who are listed on their roster as defensive ends, as well as guys that are listed as linebackers, and they use them interchangeably. Sorry there. So anyway, right here we see them in their base defense. This is 4 defensive linemen, and I forgot to look and see what this guy's number is. I'm not sure if he's listed as a defensive end or as a linebacker, but for all intents and purposes, this is very similar to the type of defense that we'll be seeing BYU run this year. BYU guys that you see on the field here, you see Eddie Heckard here, number 5. I believe this is Kamden Garrett up at the top of the screen, who also transferred to BYU this year. So let's go ahead and look and see what happens.
The jersey's already dirty for Schuster.
We got play action.
Play action again.
And a deep
Schuster
shot.
over the top. And incomplete. He wanted Garrett Mogg, the
and we've got Eddie Heckard there in great coverage. Sorry, I forgot to turn down the sound from the announcers there. So Eddie Heckard's in great position. I already went through and watched the whole first half of this game, made some notes of plays that I wanted to record here. I think in the whole first half, Eddie Heckard only had 1 completion completed on him. He's just always in a good spot. You know, he never gets beat badly. There were a few plays where the receiver could have made a good grab, but he's just never out of position, really. He's just a really good cornerback. I'm excited to watch him play more this year. Another thing that I find interesting on this play is Weber State lines up, and you can't see him on the screen, but they have a free safety lined up pretty deep back here, and that's pretty typical for them. Weber State seems to play a lot of man-to-man defense with 1 free safety back deep. They seem to shade, so on this play, the way I look at it is the free safety either is completely out of position, see him right here, or Weber State's on purpose has the free safety shade over to the other side because they have a lot of confidence in Eddie Heckard. I'm not sure what the case is, whether 32 there made just was out of position, or whether they specifically do that because of the confidence they have in Heckard. But it's just something I thought was interesting. This is the next play I wanted to break down. You see Weber State come out here. This looks to me more like the 4-2-5 nickel that we're going to see BYU run this year. So you got Eddie Heckard playing here in the slot. Now I think it's interesting here because why are they in a nickel? Looks like they've got tight end, running back. I think this number 18 is a player that North Dakota used in a lot of different ways. He's their kick returner. I think he plays receiver, they line him up in the backfield quite a bit. So a lot of the time when Heckard is playing in the slot, he is lined up, and it looks like he's specifically covering this number 18 guy. You see Kamden Garrett out here. So there's actually 3 BYU guys on the field. Kamden Garrett, Eddie Heckard, and then over here, this is Nuuletau Sellesin, who transferred to BYU as well. I may have just butchered his name. So I wanted to highlight those guys. This look, you have one of the linebackers is rolled up here on the edge there, but this is a 4-2-5 nickel. You see Eddie Heckard follow this guy out, and it's a run for minimal gain. You can tell this defense is well coached. There's good gap assignment. They rarely make mistakes. Got to give a shout out to my guy, Elder Pulsifer, who is my companion as well. He's playing the strong end position. This is, if we go back to how that looked at the start of the play. So right here, I highlighted that this linebacker is rolled up here. Nuuletau Sellesin right here, Nuuletau Sellesin is playing the OE position here. If you hear the coaches talk about that, this is your kind of lighter edge position. This guy right here that is kind of hidden behind the linebacker, it's my former mission companion, Elder Pulsifer. He's a good dude, but this is the Tyler Batty position. This is your strong end position. I've heard Kelly Papinga refer to these guys as bowls. That's the bowl end position. And so that's something else that we'll see at BYU this year. Here we see Weber State lined up in what I think is a base defense. Yeah, correct that. That might be a nickel defense, because I think this is Eddie Heckard here. And this might be a safety rolled up there. I'm not sure what, or this might, I think this is actually your safety playing up on this. This might be a tight end out here. Anyway, I want to look here. When we talk about Jay Hill's defense being aggressive, I think this is what they call a zero blitz. And so you just watch. You've got the 3 guys here that cover their guys out into the route, although there may be a free safety deep. So I don't know that this is a true zero blitz. But just look at the pressure package that they bring here. You've got 6, who's your inside linebacker. I think he's your Mike linebacker, the position that Ben Bywater is going to play. He comes flying in there on that blitz. Makes a great play. To be honest, this is horrible pass protection. 68 gets his butt whipped here. He's looking around. He doesn't know what he's doing. But it's confusing. I mean, Weber State brings a lot of pressure there. I think they've got I think 6 or 7 guys all kind of coming in on a blitz there. Or rather, not on a blitz, but just coming after the quarterback. Got the next play for the Weber State defense here. You see a big shift coming up. This is 3rd and 3. This is a gotta have it down for North Dakota State here. So they line up in kind of a heavy personnel set. I think this is actually interesting. This, from what I was able to tell, Eddie Heckard is the only cornerback on the field right now. This tells me that this is a tendency that North Dakota State has shown in the past, and that Jay Hill specifically wanted, if they line up in this formation, that they're going to respond by taking all of their corners off the field except for Eddie Heckard here. And matching that with a heavy personnel. Let's see what happens here. You see defensive linemen shifting around to compensate for that. Play action pass. 94 almost gets in there with a nice spin move. And that's one of those plays I was talking about where, Heckard is in decent position against a really tall receiver there, or maybe that's a tight end, I'm not sure. If the receiver doesn't try to be Odell Beckham Jr., goes up with two hands, maybe he gets a completion on Heckard there. But, Heckard's always in his guy's hip pocket, always in decent position. Next play, 1st and 10. North Dakota really likes to run these bunch formations to one side of the field. I think Weber State's coming out here in a base defense from what I could tell. With one safety back deep. Let's see what happens. They're bringing a blitz here with their middle linebacker. Gets right in the quarterback's face. Once again, Heckard's right there, if his, you don't blame the safety for coming over and trying to make a play, but if he doesn't come over, I think Heckard maybe has a chance at an interception there. It's a good play. Good play by Heckard. He's always in position. This next play is a 3rd and 4. You see Weber State lined up in a nickel with Eddie Heckard here in the slot. Kamden Garrett down low here. 4-man front. This is a replay. This is from the All-22. Once again, I'm reminded how much I wish all football games, the standard broadcast angle was All-24. Or All-22, excuse me. It'll be a very beautiful thing if all sports channels would do this. Anyway, I want to highlight kind of a unique coverage that Weber State runs here. You see here Eddie Heckard drops back deep, and so it looks to me like they've got their two safeties back deep. Initially, I thought that this was like a cover 2 because I saw these corners hanging down low here. But Eddie Heckard bails back deep to cover this deep third. You've got 32 covering the middle third, and I believe this is number 0 for Weber State, another safety covering the other third. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting coverage. Typically, I don't think of nickel players dropping back to cover a deep third, but Eddie Heckard is just so versatile. You see here that the quarterback ends up scrambling around, and he's able to pick up the first down. But it's good coverage. Good coverage from Utah State. The quarterback just makes a nice play. Want to highlight this next play. Weber State comes out once again in a nickel. You're going to hear me say that a lot. They're in their nickel defense a lot, which makes sense. A lot of people say nickel is the new base. More and more teams are running 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. But I want to highlight this play because of kind of an interesting coverage. So you've got 17 is the guy that often plays that hybrid linebacker edge role. I think that you can think of this guy as an Isaiah Banya type player. This is a 3rd and 2. It's a pretty crucial situation for North Dakota. They're down 10. And they're going to run fake. They bring in another quarterback here. So this number 14 is not their normal quarterback. He's a real big, I think he's a running threat kind of guy. And so North Dakota tries to get cute, bringing him in. They fake the run with him, and then he's going to try to throw this pop pass to their running back. The number 17 here, who, whether you want to call him a defensive end or a linebacker, he just makes a great play here, following that running back out of the backfield and making it hard for him to make that completion. So anyway, I think that you can expect at times this year. Last year it drove me nuts to see Tyler Batty out in coverage as much as BYU did with him. Now, last year, Tyler Batty would be lined up clear outside where a cornerback normally would, and he'd be pressing wide receivers off the line. I doubt we'll see any of that with Jay Hill's defense. But, you know, you will see your defensive ends, probably your OE position defensive ends, dropping into coverage from time to time. Next play here, we see Weber State. Once again, you guessed it, they're lined up in a nickel. The 4 guys here, 2 of them are listed as defensive linemen, 2 of them are listed as linebackers. You know, that just shows me that Jay Hill isn't going to care too much about positional or what position a guy is listed at. He's going to get his best players on the field for the different scenarios. Within this game, we see at times they're playing these linebackers in these spots. Sometimes they're playing guys listed as defensive ends in these spots. There's a lot of interchanging of those things. All right, so let's see what happens on this play. You've got kind of not quite a bunch formation here by North Dakota, but you've got Eddie Heckard and Kamden Garrett here. You got a safety who walks up here. Looks like he's going to be playing coverage here, your backside corner, a safety deep back here. And Weber State is showing blitz throughout this whole thing with their linebackers. But then at the last second, you see it's actually going to be number 0 who comes in, the safety who comes in on a blitz here, along with 3 of the defensive linemen and edge type guys. And that pressure, that exotic blitz, gets enough pressure on the quarterback that he just kind of has to throw it away. We can expect to see a lot of that from Jay Hill's defenses. And I think especially, you know, in third and medium to third and long type situations, we'll see a lot of that. Next play here for Weber State. Once again, lined up in a nickel. But I do think that this is a bit of an interesting formation. North Dakota State comes out empty set. But it's not as if all 5 of these guys lined up are wide receivers. This guy right here is a tight end. And so you see here, this is number 33. He plays inside linebacker for Weber State. And so he comes all the way out here to play manned up on this tight end. And then you see your other guys lined up across the board here with the safety deep. So I thought that was just kind of an interesting thing that we're going to see. We're going to see some of that this year. That's a nice completion there. I know I've been singing Eddie Heckard's praises throughout this video, but you know, he's human too. I think right there he kind of gets he gets caught with his pants down looking at the quarterback and just doesn't follow his guy going outside quite well enough. So they get a good completion on him. This play isn't necessarily informative for what BYU is going to be doing this year. But it's just kind of a crazy play. It tells the story of the game, so we'll go ahead and watch it. Up to this point, Weber State's been totally dominant on both sides of the ball. North Dakota State hasn't scored at all. I mean, it's been mostly just 3 and outs. They've been wrecking North Dakota State here. So you see they try to run the screen to the wide receiver. It's sniffed out. The quarterback is getting pressured. He just tries to throw it away. And the refs don't blow the whistle. The running back picks up the ball and runs it in for a touchdown. And anyway, after a lot of, to me, it looked like the quarterback's hand was coming forward. The ball slipped out of his hand, but it was called a fumble on the field, and the refs just upheld that decision. So anyway, if you're going to score on a Jay Hill defense, it might just need to be on some bogus play like this. All right, so after that bogus fumble recovery touchdown from North Dakota, Weber State responds. They score another touchdown, and North Dakota State has the ball again with just 26 seconds left before halftime. Let's see how Weber State responds here. Number 6 here seems to be caught totally out of position. Just gives up a big run there. Eddie Heckard shows off his speed chasing down this running back. This is one of the things that we've heard, is that with more aggressive defensive line play, we might see more long runs like this. And so you see this defensive tackle really trying to get into the backfield there, and the offensive guard does a good job of walling him off. And if you don't have your linebackers in the right spot, then you could get gouged pretty badly at times. So after playing completely dominant defense for basically the whole first half, you see Weber State giving up more offense than they had the whole game here. So we get to watch them here in a goal line type situation. They're back in a base defense. Got motion with man-to-man coverage there. Play action. And you see this tight end here. He does a good job of, this is 43. This is him lined up right here. This tight end does a good job of selling the run and then just leaking out and coming over here. Not sure which linebacker was responsible for covering him. But that's the risk you play. That's why play action is such a good tool for offenses. If you're in zone coverage there, maybe you have somebody who's waiting over there for him. Anyway, the other team, they're college football players too, so they're going to do some good things. And that last play pretty much brings us up to halftime. Overall, I'm impressed by Jay Hill's defenses. They were, with the exception of just a few big plays. One of them was, you can't really blame too much on the defense, other than maybe just coaching your guys to play until the whistle blows. Just impressed. This is a really well-coached defense. They fly around to the ball. They're disciplined. North Dakota State ran a lot of screen plays in this first half, especially when they weren't able to get anything going in the run game. Weber State was putting pressure on their quarterback. So what do offenses turn to in those situations? They go to screen games. The linebackers were really disciplined at following the running backs. There were just a lot of plays where they tried to do those and they were sniffed out immediately. Anyway, I'm very interested to see what BYU does with this Jay Hill defense. I'll probably make another video in the next few days going over the second half of this game.